Welcome to Sales Accelerators, Winning Strategies for Financial Professionals, an educational webinar series that explores the latest tools and concepts to help boost your sales performance and drive business growth. Join us as we analyze trending topics in life insurance, investigate the latest headlines, and discuss solutions to accommodate your clients' unique needs. Please welcome your host, Kurt Fasen, Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of the Sales Accelerators. My name is Kurt Fasen, Executive Vice President here at DBS, and I'm excited today to bring you something maybe a little bit different. I'm joined today by our newly appointed DBS Chief Underwriter and Vice President, Tiffany Gross. She is going to help us take an inside look at the underwriting process to help you understand how DBS can navigate those tricky situations. She's been in the industry for nearly 3 decades, and 15 years ago, she actually set up her own consulting business in underwriting. So there's a chance many of you already have worked with Tiffany because for the last 5 years, Tiffany has been an underwriting consultant for DBS. Over the last month, Tiffany has transitioned into a role and is now working on the large case team and working with our elite advisors. I can tell you on behalf of all of us here at DBS, we are thrilled that she is in her new role. Welcome, Tiffany, to our program.
Thanks so much, Kurt, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, Tiffany, before we dig in, I'd like to hear a little bit about your approach to underwriting. So the advisors that are joining us, what can they expect from a new chief? Maybe put differently, what things are important to you as you approach underwriting cases? What changes do you think advisors might see with you taking the helm now?
Yeah, sure. Well, understanding the manual and carrier guidelines, of course, is involved in that process. And then knowing how to position a case, the real art of underwriting that goes on behind the scenes, so that we can get that best possible outcome, knowing where we can push a carrier, knowing when we just need to pivot the case, so that we aren't just spinning our wheels with a company that just isn't the best fit for that client. That's always on the forefront of my mind when we work a case. And then making sure to tie in the case design team on the front end. So many times we get caught up in chasing that rate class versus really digging in and drilling down and looking at the numbers, crunching those numbers to see where the product is performing, and the pricing, taking that into consideration is such a huge part. You'd be surprised how many times a higher rate class from one company may beat another company's lower rate class. Everybody wants to be called standard and preferred, but there are times when a table 2, table 3, table 4 may beat somebody else's lower rate class. And I think the DBS team just does a really great job at collaborating from this aspect from start to finish. And then the one difference that I feel like I do take the time to do is explaining that why behind why are we where we are from that underwriting standpoint. If you just take the time to sit down and explain the reasoning for that rating, especially if you can improve with that rating, that can go a long way in helping get that case placed. The agent and clients are just really counting on us to make sure that we've done all we can to secure the best possible offer that's available. So if you take that time to explain the why, that can make all the difference in the world, so they know that we've done all we can to really advocate on their behalf. Some of the areas of underwriting that I enjoy the most is the aspect of the competitive nature of this business. I am such a competitive person. It's been throughout my entire life. With 4 brothers and 2 sisters, you can imagine. I don't think there was anything in life we didn't compete against, and that's carried on in through my underwriting training. So when we get that big win on a reconsideration or won a case when we were in competition with another agency, it's just a really great feeling and one that I really thrive on. From a personal standpoint, some things you might want to know about me is that I've been really involved in dog rescue for quite a number of years. And I now have 4 dogs, all from the same rescue from the Bahamas. And then I am also a board member with a charity that my friend started, an elementary school friend, and it is involved in making a positive impact on the lives of chronically ill and physically challenged children. So we do a lot of work anywhere from helping to obtain special therapies like aquatics or horse therapy to helping home modifications, maybe with support beams and material within the house, to supporting hospitals with toy drives for the holidays or other special events they may be carrying.
Wow, that's amazing. It's great to hear a little bit about, and that's something for you viewers I didn't know. It's great to hear the things that people do when they're not every day at work. I just want to reel back just a little bit though. I really think everybody needs to take to heart the one comment you made around how just because something's called a certain table rating or whatever, it's the most important to make sure we're finding what's best for that client, right? So whether it might say table 5, but we got it back down to a table 3, or a table 5 is actually performing better than a table 3 at a different carrier, that intertwining between underwriting and case design is really where the magic starts to happen. And I'm seeing that already with you in your chair, but I won't steal our thunder. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, so it's an exciting time. I think it really is an exciting time here at DBS. We're taking underwriting really in a new direction. And in a larger sense, I want to talk about underwriting in general, if I can, just for a second, and ask you, Tiffany, what changes have you seen industry-wide that you think are going to improve or maybe even change the underwriting process?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say one of the recent changes that we're seeing is the carriers just increasing their face amounts and product availability for those accelerated and automated underwriting processes. Everybody wants to know, how can we get the client through without doing exam requirements and medical records, and how much coverage can we get into those programs? So we've seen some changes with Banner now underwriting up to 4 million in their accelerated underwriting program.
Mhm.
John Hancock, Principal, Pacific Life, now in some instances will go up to 3 million. And it's also not just for term coverage anymore. We're seeing a lot of companies now qualify their permanent products as well with less invasive underwriting. Then there's also the increased capacity, where we have seen John Hancock's Auto Bind Plus program. You can now get up to 130 million in-house through their facultative process.
Wow.
And then Pacific Life also has the ability to possibly insure up to an additional 95 million over their jumbo limit of 65 million. So both have really large internal retention capacities as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then even Principal expanding their underwriting capacity with the ability to go up to 90 million. So this is great for affluent markets where we now necessarily don't have to go to several different companies to get those large cases placed.
And I think that's great because you and I have talked about this, Tiffany. For those of you that work in that affluent, higher end market that need that level of coverage, it's difficult at times just because of the things these people are involved in, the businesses, the charities, the travel, the family, everything they're doing. It's hard if we need to go to multiple carriers for these very large amounts. So I think it's fantastic to see that these carriers are really competing with one another and trying to get more creative in how they can get those capacity limits up. Tiffany, what other methods of alternative underwriting, to your knowledge, are being explored right now?
Sure. So, we've had around for a while some of the alternative data sources and the data analytics, such as Milliman reports,
Mhm.
LexisNexis, credit reports, motor vehicle reports and electronic health records. And a lot of the credit reporting and Milliman, LexisNexis, some of those were being used and geared more towards the accelerated underwriting cases. But they've really expanded those reports now, and you're going to find that those are run on pretty much every case now. And so the carriers are really using those reports to see, do we really need to have full medical records ordered, or can we use those alternate data sources to really get a good handle on where that risk would fall? And then also, of course, bringing more science into underwriting, such as incorporating that AI. Everybody wants to know, how is AI going to be incorporated into our process? What do we need to learn to navigate around that? And so I think the challenge with AI is really going to be, how do you not lose that human element on the cases that you really need somebody drilling down in, while also improving your efficiency in underwriting and analyzing all of these other data sources that we're getting information from. And so that's going to be the real challenge.
Yeah, it will be, and it's all the buzz, of course, right now. It's the new flavor, and but I think it's exciting. I mean, even at NFP, I'm involved with Leah Mahoney, one of our other executives. We're involved in a think tank for NFP Global to think about how is AI going to impact our business, not our business here just at DBS, but across the industry. How's it going to impact it? So I think it's going to be mindful of it. So we've got increased capacity. We've got competition happening between carriers, and then we've got some cool alternatives being explored from other methodologies. I think what I want to do now, Tiffany, is I want everybody to take a step back that's watching and listening on the podcast, find the webinar action plan. Pull that out, because this next part, I want you all to lean in and listen, because I've asked Tiffany to come to this call with some saves that have happened that have really kind of turned the tables in a positive direction for both the advisor and for their clients. So I think let's start with this one. We were talking about a case where we had a client, and in this case, they did apply for 3 different companies for 25 million, I think is what you said, $25 million in coverage. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about that situation, just illuminate that for us. And the reason, before Tiffany takes the mic, the reason I want you all to have your action plans out is I want you to be thinking about cases that you could use the Tiffany magic on, right? Write those cases down. So Tiffany, tell us about this $25 million case.
Sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, it was 25 million total, and with 3 different companies. So of course, with that challenge, you have 3 different sets of guidelines that carriers use while we're trying to get the same outcome from all 3 companies, and of course, at preferred best. So
Obviously.
yes, so we did have one company out of the gate come out with preferred best rates, and they did have some minor abnormalities with the labs, but that company's guidelines were a little bit more lenient. Then we had the second company come in at preferred, and the third company was standard plus, but they did use some credits to get back to preferred. So when you're working a case like that, you also try to leverage where another company came in at to try to renegotiate with the other 2. Right. So yeah, so I was able to get the one company to agree with my reasoning, and they went preferred best. But the third company was just holding out. They had said, well, we've already given some credits and went from standard plus to preferred. And so they were just holding off on going preferred plus. But we do have a program through Libra, through one of our reinsurance partners, RGA, and we're able to go direct to them with the file. So I was able to get RGA to offer a preferred best rate class, and I was able to take that back to the third company, and that got us back on track to getting that third and final piece back to preferred best.
I remember the day when you called me about that case, and you were just thrilled, and I know the advisor was very thrilled. And sometimes it just happens due to ownership structure and maybe advice from the family office of the attorney that they need to use multiple carriers. And I think that the fact that you were able to think creatively about, okay, there's another way to do this, and because of our relationship with RGA through our Libra affiliation, it allowed us really to bring it home. So nicely done, nicely done. All right, next case. This is one, I think it came in formally, and it was a table D due to elevated test resulting from possible heart failure or other cardiac problems. Didn't look too great at that point. And then Tiffany got involved. So tell us what happened, Tiffany.
Yeah, we had a 12 million survivorship case, and as Kurt mentioned, it was a table D due to the wife's NT-proBNP value, which is a cardiac enzyme marker, being elevated. It was 570. Well, the insurance company's cutoff was 300. So a little on the high side. She has no known health issues that we're aware of. So she is adamant that she has no cardiac issues. So she went into her doctor and repeated that lab work. And while that value did come down to 367, we were able to improve that to a table 2, but it was still over that threshold for the insurance company's 300 cutoff. So they said they would not go standard, which is what we needed, unless we had a stress echocardiogram completed. Well, the last thing you want to do is get additional testing on somebody if you can avoid it, especially with that value being elevated. So the client's doctor obviously didn't tell her to do a stress echo. So we also don't want to go against what the doctor's informing the client with her history. So I took the time and wrote a letter to the actual cardiologist and asked them to elaborate on why their value range was so different than the insurance company's range, because clinical medicine and insurance medicine can have two completely different viewpoints. So I did give them the reference range for the carrier and asked them to elaborate on why they weren't concerned with the values, why they weren't recommending any additional cardiac testing to be done. And we were able to get a really great letter back from the doctor explaining his thought process and why he was not concerned. And we were able to go ahead and get that insurance company to then reconsider to that standard rate class without any additional cardiac testing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And what you're already picking up on, I hope, out there is Tiffany has a very soft approach as she comes in to work with these situations, and has deep background and is wicked smart and is able to navigate it very quickly. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, yes, I guess it is standard. All right, thank you. All right, let's do another one. You had a situation where a client came in with a calcium score that I guess we would call as high, and that resulted in a decline. So that's really high for their asset-based hybrid product and life insurance application, and uninsurable rate on the second to die coverage. I mean, again, unfortunately, Tiffany, a lot of times the team gives you these and they're a little bit of a mess, but tell me what occurred here.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a total of 16 million of combination coverage between individual and second to die. The calcium score came in over 2,600, which is quite high. Over 500 is concerning, but over 2,600 is a bit of a different challenge. So we weren't able to get the asset-based portion turned back around, but what we were able to do is, again, leverage that relationship with RGA that we have and go to them and ask them to look to see if they could get us up to 10 million in coverage. They do have a cap at 10 million, except for with one company, but we were able to get them to quote a table 6 rate class for him, and then reached out to another company that we knew had very aggressive value limitations with that calcium score test at his age bracket. And we were able to get a second backup option at a table D for his case. So with those two options at the table 6 and table D, we were able to run some numbers and see which outcomes with the products were going to be the best fit for the client and salvage those cases as well.
Yeah, just great work. Tiffany, how long have you been sitting in the chief underwriter chair at DBS?
Month and a half.
So in less than 60 days, we've had, and I know because of limits on time, we're not going through all of them, but I just want to convey to the folks that are listening and watching, the horsepower that we have in underwriting is amazing. Their ability to look at 30 plus carriers to really help look at which and where is going to be best to place the business based on whatever condition we're dealing with is really remarkable. And that is one of the DBS differences that we bring to the market. But it's also on the advisor. For those of you that are watching, listening, it's on you as well. We need you to do some field underwriting because the world doesn't consist of only super double preferred, best class, every human walking the planet. There are things that people have going on, and we need to do some field underwriting. So, Tiffany, can you just take just a moment, talk just a little bit about the importance of field underwriting and the value that DBS provides in that process?
Sure, absolutely. So field underwriting is definitely one of the most critical things for our financial professionals on what they can do on their end to just help us make sure we're getting the best possible outcome for the clients. So with field underwriting, you're gathering all the pertinent information that might affect the underwriting offers. And so at that initial meeting that you're having with your clients, it is really important to kind of dig in. It seems like a lot of the information might be basic in nature, but it really is quite important. Something as simple as asking somebody's client tobacco use or your family history, your build, medical impairments. A hot one is marijuana use, medications that they're taking. These are like really important critical pieces that the financial professional can help us gather from an underwriting standpoint so that we can really help you navigate which company is the best fit from the get-go to try to help you avoid needing to pivot that case. So it is really just really important to ask as many questions as you can at that initial meeting. And it's not just medical. Don't forget the non-medical side. So moving violations with your motor vehicle report, different avocations you may enjoy, flying an airplane, scuba diving, mountain climbing, any criminal history you may have. Don't forget about those questions as well, because those will come up, and a lot of those factors may come up in those third-party, behind-the-scenes data verification. So it's just really important. The more information we have up front, the better we are at able to assist you with getting you to the right company and at the right rate class.
Very well said. And in addition, the underwriting team and marketing have joined forces, and they've developed underwriting questionnaires, which you can find. In fact, here they are on our website. You can see where they are, and there's just a number of them. You can simply just click on it and submit it back to us, and Tiffany or one of the other underwriters will be happy to look at it, and it gives you an idea of maybe you don't know what to ask, but you know there might be something going on with cancer, or there might be something going on with cardiac. But if you're like me, that's the end of what I know. So you need to have a little bit of a paint by number, if you will, and those questionnaires are great. So, hey, final question for you, Tiffany,
Sure.
if you might. You're involved. You've been involved in the industry for years, so you've got your pulse on things. What are some of the things that are being worked on, changes you see coming on the horizon?
Sure. Well, just to revisit a little bit of what we discussed some moments ago, is the carriers really trying to increase that accelerated underwriting limitations and how far can they really push that. And so I think you're going to see that continue to increase. The better the predictive analytics and the third-party information that is available becomes, I think you're going to see more and more carriers follow suit with increasing those amounts. And that does go hand in hand with how you can integrate that AI process and seeing that impact our business. So really just trying to determine and narrow down where it makes sense to integrate that AI process, that I see being on the forefront and front and center to everybody's mind. And so with that, the challenge of AI underwriting is not one size fits all. So how do you integrate this without losing that element in art of underwriting and negotiating? There is a place for that, and I see where it has its place to help improve that efficiency through the ability to analyze that data maybe a little bit more quickly, maybe helping on our front end with quoting on some of those I got a guy situations where we have limited information and just trying to get a rough idea of the starting point, and then on to more transactional tasks. So it'll be really important to see how AI plays out in the next coming years, but how do we still keep that business on a personalized level as well?
Yeah, well said. And I think in our industry as well as many others, but for the period of time that you and I both been in this industry, the only consistent thing that we see is change. And that change is making us more effective, more efficient, and really helping us to meet the needs of our customers more rapidly every single day. I'm gonna let you take a breath, and I'm just gonna remind folks of a few things. So, here's a listing of the underwriting team that you can get access to. And again, the medical questionnaires, or underwriting questionnaires rather, it really doesn't matter what the impairment is. We really have the expertise in-house that can help you with your case. Now, take your form that you wrote down all of those cases on, and if you need to get a second piece of paper and add it to it, that's all right. But take your webinar action plan and get that ready, because the DBS team will be following up with you to ask, how can we help? And I'm actually challenged the team, see if you can go find something that's going to stump Tiffany. Let's see what we can do to stump Tiffany. And so far, I haven't seen anything can stump her yet. So, Tiffany, any final words for our audience today?
Sure. I just would like to say thank you for your time and allowing the DBS team to be an intricate part of supporting your clients' needs as well as your own business needs. We're always here to help you and contribute to your success in any way that we can. And we just encourage that open dialogue, and any feedback you have for us goes a long way on our end to help us continue to improve that relationship for you.
Awesome. Tiffany, congratulations again. Glad to have you on the DBS team, seen in the Chief Underwriter chair. And to all of you that joined us today, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for another edition of Sales Accelerators. I look forward to seeing you again right back here real soon. Until then, take care, be well, and stay safe, everyone.